See, I don't. I think we should get the homicide out of the White House and get like a fresh start, because we don't want any more murderers.
I think we should just go on to the next question.
Who are the murderers?
Yeah.
Oh, Clinton, he murdered a guy.
Yeah, you know, we're not allowed to. You're not allowed to put out no accusations without.
That's a little too far.
That's the way it doesn't work.
Let's just go on to the next question.
Yeah.
This is not my week. What can I tell you?
Oh, it's not mine either, and I'm being very nice, okay? Be a good boy. Now, Norm.
Do you never hear that?
No. Listen, we don't need to talk about that.
I don't want to get into this, and I don't want to hear it, and this is not the place to make those accusations, and you're supposed to be funny. Let's get on to the next question. So get with it.
There you go.
This is a live show.
Not for nothing, Norm, but you have been properly chastised by Barbara, so I'm not going to ask the next question.
I thought it was a matter of record.
Shut up.
I fucking love Norm McDonald. That's amazing.
Yeah, I have no idea whether he really likes George Bush. His politics have always been confusing. I think he might actually be a little weirdly conservative, but I think someone mentioned the clip in the chat, and him just claiming that that Bill Clinton murdered somebody on The View was just so good.
I mean, it's possible that he was really weirdly conservative, but I actually think that like Norm McDonald might have been such a pure comedian that like it might be just impossible to tell like what he actually thought about anything from like the bits that he did, just because it was all so like maybe he likes Bush, maybe he doesn't like Bush, maybe he thinks Clinton killed some people, but like he doesn't he's not saying any of that stuff because he believes it. He's saying it to fuck with them in perfect Norm McDonald deadpan because he knows what reaction he's gonna get.
Yeah. There's a few of those guys that I just would never want to be around because they're so always on, like David Cross. I'd hate to be around David Cross. Eric Andre. Oh, the hell, I hate to be around Eric Andre. It's like he's just always on. Always on.
Well, and I mean, I was actually talking to our frequent guest, Ryan Lake, about this, I don't know, a little while ago, that like one of my long-standing complaints about the state of comedy is that, like, I think culture war is terrible for comedy in all directions because, on the one hand, I find the sort of, like, cloyedly woke Hannah Gadsby, like, try to get people to clap more than try to get them to laugh stuff, like, it's insufferable. But on the other hand, I fucking hate, like, how many, like, stand-up albums, even by people who are pretty good now, start with like 10 minutes of whining about how you can't tell a joke anymore. It's like, that's not funny, right? I don't want you to do that. And Norm McDonald, you cannot imagine doing that, right? Because he would never step out of character enough to like actually react to how anybody was receiving his work.
Or if he did that, he would do it in such a way that would be so brilliant that like it would negate anybody else from ever having to do it again, although they probably still will, because nobody would be paying attention.
Yeah, I mean, if he was doing it, it would be as a bit that he just like calculated there was something like really funny he could do to fuck with people by doing the premise that he was complaining about how you couldn't tell a joke, but he wouldn't do it just because he was like annoyed that he thought you couldn't tell a joke.
I mean, I've always felt like the people that are saying that stuff they're preaching to their crowd that don't like them getting chastised. So it's one of those, you guys look great tonight. Kind of, give a round of applause for yourselves. That's the new way to say that is like,
that's right.
Aren't you tired of these blue hairs?
Yeah.
I know Ben, you're a Bill Burr fan, but yeah, it was like, what was his most recent special where he did the most tired, boring rant about like cancel culture and comedy, and then
Paper Tiger, that's what you're talking about.
And then he did like proceeded to do like an amazing hour of comedy that was actually pretty progressive, and I mean
totally.
at least for his that like was very sensitive about most of these issues, and I was like, why did you have to start with that?
I think people are a little offended because I almost feel like people forgot the 80s and the 90s when it came to comedy. And they forgot how large people like Andrew Dice Clay got. Andrew Dice Clay was playing like stadiums at one point in time, saying jokes like, what was it? Old Mother Hubbard. Yeah, I fucked her. It just really kind of rude.
Yeah,
Not
right,
even that funny jokes.
right.
And his whole shtick was nursery rhymes with bad words in it, like a 12-year-old would say. But this
Yeah.
dude was selling out arenas doing that, and there were a lot of comedians that were, everyone's. I don't care what it is, podcasting, comedy, music. Whenever you see someone taking off doing something, you want to piggyback on that thing that they're taking off on. And for a while, I mean, shit, I grew up watching Def Comedy Jam.
Mhm.
There's no way in the world Def Comedy Jam could exist for one episode. And I don't say that in a good way.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I see where people are coming from, because it's like, well, I can't tell this, I can't tell that, I can't tell this, I can't tell that. Well, what are they going to do? And anyone says, well, they got to be better. It's like, well, that wasn't their thing in the first place, I guess. And second of all, most of the people complaining don't fucking watch them anyway.
Yeah.
No, I it's not that I think, like, to be clear, the reason I don't like that stuff is just an aesthetic reason, right? In other words, it's not that I necessarily even think they're wrong. It's just that it's not funny. Like I don't need to hear, like, because, like, they're half right, half wrong, whatever. I don't care, right? It's like, it's just that they're like people who are just basically doing what should be like a conversation between comedians at the bar, right? It's like, God damn it, like, it's so annoying doing this now. Like, doing that on stage, it's like their irritation is too raw for them to actually be able to make anything funny out of it. And yeah, I think Bill Burr, I had completely the same reaction to that album, Paper Tiger, which is that, like, the first 10 minutes, like, oh God damn it, it's like, okay, all right, sure, yeah, granted, let's go, right? And but then, like, the rest of the album was fucking amazing. I mean, like, because he actually got into the personal stuff, and he started to, like, really go into his, like, anger management issues, and, like, he had this wonderful riff in there about, like, he's doing this impression of, like, his, like, counseling, like, I don't know, like, marriage counseling, I guess, with his wife, where, and it's, like, sort of interweaved with him, like, doing these anecdotes about growing up and, like, all the, like, horrible shit his dad would do to them. And then he, like, does this, like, offensive imitation of his wife, being like, I don't understand where all this anger comes from. He's like, you don't understand? I just said, right? Like, how many more of these stories do I need to tell you? And, I mean, like, I actually saw Bill Burr live
Recently, right?
Yeah, pretty recently. Yeah, it was Jed got us tickets for my birthday, and that was great, because he just, like, went right into doing what he should do at the beginning of a set, which is finding ways to fuck with the audience. So he, because it was Georgia, so he was like, oh, this is so great, being down here, and it's like, it's so great, that, like, now that all this COVID stuff is done, we could just, like, do these shows. We don't have to worry about any of the restrictions. Of course, you guys didn't anyway, right? But that's great. That's great. It's, freedom. That's right. No, I'm sure Grandma had it coming. Right. And then he's, like, doing this little meta thing about, like, oh, I'm disturbed by how many of you didn't laugh just now. They have you know this isn't a rally, right? I'm making fun of you.
Yeah, I don't know if I saw you in the comments, Jason, but if you saw the view section of the main show with Sam, but that was why I found that Norm clip, just because there's just Joy Behar was pretty likable in those clips he showed, but I just like the fact that he went on that show and trolled them is kind of like what they deserve.
No,
and I'm sure that if Meghan McCain was on when Norm went on, he would have said something to troll.
Oh, he would have found something to say. Yeah, definitely.
And I mean, just, I just wanted to kind of bring this in here too. The 80s, as Jason was alluding to earlier, was such a low bar for comedy because there was, like, this big bubble that we're in. Like Meghan McCain could have had a comedy career in the 80s. Just like how Bill Burr has one.
Damn, are you shitting on Sam Cedar now?
Bill.
No, he's talented.
Bill Burr is somebody I have very few nice things to say about. I wrote an article about him for the Daily Beast like a month ago. I shit all over that man and would do so good.
You
but-
sucked in House 2, Mar.
DC Cab? It was the worst part of that movie.
But just in terms of like basic competence, keeping a show going, and like, you know, so it's sort of like running through a segment, and certainly anything that will go into doing comedy. Like Bill Maher is not a good comedian, but like there is no way in hell that like Meghan McCain could like. I mean, she could not do any of the things that he did.
But he's had also like 25, 30 years of practice.
No, for sure.
You know, if you give her 25 or 30 years to do it.
Yeah, but she wouldn't do 25 or 30 years because
she quit in a huffy fit after like
2
3
years
months.
in, somebody would say something like 2 years in, she would have like a really, not even 2 years in, like a month in, she would have a bad set and she would be offended by the crowd being mean to her and she would quit and she'd never do it again.
Yeah, I mean, Bill Maher is because I was pretty passionately debating him with like a centrist friend, and like it was really funny because my friend was saying, "Oh, I like Bill Maher, and then I watched, just to like try to be fair, I watched a monologue and I was like, these are really hacky jokes, like these are sub Jay Leno 2006 type political humor, and I challenged him because he's like a comedy guy. And I was like, "Is this?" He's like, "No, I think I just agree with him." And I was like, "Yeah, that's why you like Bill Maher, because like, you know,
that's a good moment of insight."
Yeah, it's mostly liberals who like agree with him and they don't have another home. And he is good at going through the motions of hosting a show, but he's very
and I think where you always see it is like the opening monologues always sucked, because in the opening monologues, like that actually relies on his own sense of timing and all that stuff, and he was never very good at that, right? Like he has like it's, in fact, over the years he like increasingly started doing this thing where he would like get mad at the crowd for not like finding shit funny, and he would assume that it was because they were too PC or whatever. It's like, no, you just suck.
You have been watching free public content from Give Them an Argument. To access every single episode of the show, the main show on Monday nights, all of the streams, all of the debate breakdowns, all of the patron-exclusive postgames on Monday nights, all of the patron-exclusive bonus episodes every week, and much, much more, go to patreon.com/Ben Burgis. I cannot resist ending this with, don't be foolish.